ಕೀಬೋರ್ಡ್ ವರ್ಕ್
ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್.
ಇದೊಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಚಿಕ್ಕದು ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ ಸೈಡ್.
That is good.
Sir.
Yes.
Shall I speak?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Is I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good morning.
sir.
Thank you very much. And my slides are visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Again, once again, a good morning to you all.
Good morning, sir.
At the outset, I thank the authorities of UGC Human Resource Development Center of University of Mysore for giving me an opportunity to be part of this 16th refresher course in life sciences. And I am also thankful to Dr. Rajkumar, the coordinator of this 16th refresher course of University of Mysore, for giving me an opportunity to share some of my experiences of nearly 2 decades that I have just got from this botanical by serving in Botanical Survey of India. So in this today's session, my first I will be delivering 2 talks. One will be on conservation of biodiversity, a BSc perspective, and the second one will be conservation of orchids, a boon for research in biological sciences. Of course, coming to the first talk, which is on conservation of biodiversity, a BSc perspective. I want to just start by giving a quote: "Earth provides enough to satisfy one's need, but not one's greed," which is quoted by our father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji. This quote is directly related to a very important component of this Mother Earth called biodiversity. Today, biodiversity is a very, very hard subject. Of course, I am presently here in this, especially in this department, mainly because I was returning from by attending one national consultation meeting at Bhopal, held at Indian Institute of Forest Management, Bhopal. And then since I had to move from Coimbatore to Mysore to Coimbatore, then Dr. Rajkumar asked me, "Sir, why don't you appear here itself, and from here you can deliver?" Okay, Rajkumar, I will be very more comfortable if I will just come over and deliver like that. So I attended this 3rd consultation meeting of National Biodiversity Authority held at Indian Institute of Forest Management at Bhopal, in which much of the discussions took place with regard to this Cumming-Montreal protocol related to biodiversity. Biodiversity is a very, very vast term. I'll be just showing some of the slides, how this biodiversity is conserved, how it is multiplied, and how it is kept for future generation. All these things are the very, very important aspect related to biodiversity. So that's I wanted to tell that biodiversity is a very, very vast term, or it is an umbrella term which encompasses all the living entities which are existing on this Mother Earth. It is an umbrella term which encompasses all the living entities which are categorized by themselves in it, and it is the form of life on this Mother Earth. It is the essence of life on this Mother Earth. So today, biodiversity, conservation of biodiversity has become the conservation of biodiversity has become a necessity rather than a fashion, and it has become a sovereign property of any nation under consideration, and conservation of biodiversity has become a necessity rather than a fashion. So that's why I want to tell, it is a very, very vast term. It is so vast. The work also is vast, the aspects are also is vast, and the results will also be vast, and the team should also be vast. Then the results will be very, 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 very effective. So I wanted to tell, biodiversity is completely concentrated much in the tropical countries rather than temperate countries. Of course, India is one among the megadiverse countries. Some of the megadiverse countries: Brazil, China, Australia, Mexico, Ecuador, Colombia, then Indonesia, Malaysia, and Madagascar. These are some of the megadiverse countries, among which India is also a megadiverse country, and having nearly 50,000 12 plant species and 92,000 animal species are existing if you see the biodiversity profile of our country. Even though so much of vast biodiversity is existing in this country, but much of the threats this biodiversity is completely not over in the country, all over the world, it is facing much of the threats. That's why many of the leaders from long time also, many of the intellects also from long time also, they have given the Yes, this one, they have given their quotes as earth provides enough to satisfy one's need, but not one's greed, given by Mahatma Gandhi. Even not Mahatma Gandhi, before long before our father of the nation, William Shakespeare also has told, "You will be taking away my life if you take away the means upon which I live." And then even Amrita Devi, environmentalist, has also told, "It is worth to save a tree even at the cost of one's head." These are some of the quotes which are completely related with this conservation of this biodiversity, which has become a great threat, which is facing a great threat on this Mother Earth. So in this connection, before going to the subject proper of this conservation of biodiversity by BSc perspective, I wanted to highlight one important aspect of Mission Life, which is a very active campaign proposed by our present Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, and it was proposed in the year 2021, November 2021, and it was inaugurated in October 2022 before the unity, the Statue of Unity at Gujarat, in the presence of United Nations General Secretary Antonio Guterres, and this is not other than Mission Life program, which stands for 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. This is a campaign which was proposed by Honorable Prime Minister, mainly to make the people, to nudge the people to change from harming waste to healthy waste. Because many of the people, they have developed, even though India is gifted with the maximum diversity, but people have developed a very wrong type of habit to bad use this biodiversity, and completely in one way or other harming this biodiversity. That's why a new program of Mission Life was proposed by Government of India, and all the departments completely given serious instructions to follow this program, and see that people will completely come out of this harming waste to healing waste. And in which this is proposed mainly because there was a great threat developed for this biodiversity. So that's why 7 actions were completely suggested, and these actions are: save energy, save water, reduction in single-use plastic, and then healthy lifestyles, and then swachhata or e-waste deployment. So like this, we some 7 actions were proposed, and you can see in this figure Mission Life program. Even in the center, the conservation of biodiversity also is one of the aspects of this one, because greener cover is completely reducing forest cover, which is to be, according to Forest Survey of India report, the forest cover, which is to be nearly 32%, 35% of in relation to the land area, presently FSI says it has reduced to 24.65%. So that's why this type of Mission Life programs are very important to save some of the trees and to increase this greenery cover. That's the Government of India, along with this Mission Life, it has having 4 to 5 important days also has been have been selected, such as one is International Biodiversity Day, that is observed in it is observed on 25th May of every year. International Biodiversity Day is observed. Then comes the 5th June, the World Environment Day, and after that, the 1st July to 7th July, 1 week program of Van Mahotsav is observed. And then we are having 16th September, we are having Ozone Day. Then 2nd February, we observe Wetland Day. So all these very important days, which are very much organized, which are very much selected for conserving the biodiversity on this Mother Earth in one way or the other way. 2nd February, recently it has gone, that is the World Wetland Day. And Ramsar sites, how important now Government of India is completely concentrating on conserving these Ramsar sites, because they are the sinks, carbon sinks, and they are the chief source of water to the Mother Nature. So these are the very important programs, and Government of, as a department of Botanical of India, coming under the Department of directly coming under the Government of India, strict instructions has been given to follow this and follow this message and pass on this message to all the citizens of India to completely conserve this biodiversity on this Mother Earth. In this connection, many of the programs from last 5 to 6 months, many of the programs has been conducted. The people were given were taken oath with regard to not to waste disturb the green cover, and even to protect the resources, natural resources, in the form of water, in the form of light, everything, save energy, all these things, and even to save trees, and even to just to minimize the use of single-use plastic. the cotton bags were distributed at many of the places, and placards were prepared, and people were one way or the other were made educated about the importance of this biodiversity component. And this is a very, very important active campaign which is proposed by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. You see, these are the days of, I told whatever I heard is International Biodiversity, which is observed on 25th May, then World Environment Day observed on 5th June, 1st to 7th July. We are conducting this one more program in Bharatiya University Botany Department, Botanical Garden, Bharatiya University Botany Department, and World Ozone Day by bringing many of the school students and conducting quiz competitions, drawing competitions, and then World Wetland Day. And I wanted to just highlight here is now recently in Indore, our Forest Ministry has released the book on Ramsar sites, the flora of Ramsar sites, prepared by in two volumes, which was recently compiled by Botanical Survey of India. So what Ramsar sites are now very, very important, and even mangroves, how important mangroves, you may be knowing about those. Mangroves are very, very important plants, and Government of India is very much interested in conserving the mangrove vegetations of our country also. Now, coming to Botanical Survey of India, one by one, slowly coming towards today's topic. Botanical Survey of India is an organization coming under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and it is mainly committed to document and conserve the floristic diversity of our country. Floristic diversity of our country. Biodiversity, sometimes I may be using the term biodiversity, in some places I may use floristic diversity. You should not get confused. Biodiversity is a very, very umbrella term, already I have told. So many words they use. Some people, since I come from plant, I call it floristic diversity. The people coming from zoology, they call it faunal diversity. The people who are considering fungus, they call fungal diversity. Then agriculture people, they call as agrobiodiversity and microbial diversity. What not? So much of terminologies are coming up with regard to this biodiversity, because which is a very, very important component of this Mother Earth. So this biodiversity, Botanical Survey of India has been given the prime importance or the prime responsibility of documenting and conserving this floristic diversity of our country. And this department is having its headquarters at Calcutta, where along with director's office headquarters, other 4 important divisions are there. One is Central National Herbarium, the second one is UGC Indian Botanic Garden, the third one is Central Botanical Laboratory, and the fourth one is Industrial Museum of Indian Museum. Of course, this Industrial Museum is present in the Calcutta site, whereas the Central National Herbarium, Indian Botanic Garden, Central Botanical Laboratory present in the Howrah, which is inside the UGC Indian Botanic Garden. Howrah and Calcutta are twin cities. In between there is Hooghly River. Just crossing the Hooghly River, that side is Calcutta, and this side is western side is eastern side is our Howrah. So now this is the Botanical Survey of India, and it is having 11 regional centers spread all over India. In some of the places like Coimbatore, Southern Regional Center, which now I am heading, and then we are having Western Regional Center at Pune. Then we are having Deccan Regional Center at Hyderabad. Then Central Regional Center at Allahabad. Then Arid Zone Regional Center at Jodhpur, and Western Circle at Northern Circle at Dehradun, and then we are having Gangtok Circle at Gangtok, Shillong Circle at Shillong, Arunachal Pradesh Eastern Regional Center at Itanagar, and Andaman and Nicobar Regional Center at Port Blair. And recently, some 3 years back, another regional center, high altitude regional center, has been started at Solan of Himachal. So this is the orientation of this all the regional centers, and all these regional centers, scientists are working in one way or the other in documentation and conservation of floristic diversity of the country. So now just a brief history about the Botanical Survey of India. Botanical Survey of India was started in the year 1890, and the founder is Sir George King, the then Superintendent of Royal Botanic Garden, Calcutta, appointed as first ex officio honorary director of PSI. So Botanical Survey of India is here brief history I'm doing. Of course, the history and the work all with regard to this biodiversity, in how it took place, Indian Botanic Garden. How it took place in UGC Indian Botanic Garden, I will be talking in further slides. So, as a brief, Botanical Survey of India was started in the year 1890, 13 February 1890, by Sir George King, the then Superintendent of Royal Botanic Garden, Calcutta. And after this, starting for 1890, of course, for nearly 60 to 70 years, the work of this botanical work related to Botanical Survey of India was not going to the higher level, but still British scientists who were associated with the UGC Indian Botanic Garden, which was earlier known as Royal Botanic Garden, they were carrying out some work, but in between independence came, and after independence in 1947, the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, started some equipping or strengthening some of the scientific departments of our country, and in between he thought of strengthening this Botanical Survey of India also. He came to know about a person known as Dr. E.K. Janakemal, a native of Kerala, who was working in C.T. Darlington's laboratory at England, and he came to know about Janaki Amal, and she is referred to as the Iron Lady of Indian Botany, and she is the first doctorate holder in Indian Botany. So Iron Lady of Indian Botany, she was working in the lab of C.T. Darlington at England. So Jawaharlal Nehru invited E.K. Janaki Amal to come back to India and to take charge of this Botanical Survey of India's reorganization. She accepted and became the special officer of this Botanical Survey of India, completely reorganized Botanical Survey of India year 1952. The reorganization of the Botanical Survey of India was aimed at building the much desired inventory of the country's rich plant resources. The main aim was to carry out intensive exploration surveys to document the plant resources in the form of local, district, state, and national floras, and to have a custodian of authentic collections in herbaria. So she was given the responsibility of that one. And here I'm just inaugurating a portrait, a hand-drawing portrait by our artist of Botanical Survey of India Survey Center, Mr. Durga Das. We inaugurated on the birth anniversary of E.K. Janakamal in our conference hall of Botanical Survey of India Survey Center. So she is the backbone of who reorganized. She was the first special officer appointed by the Government of India to reorganize Botanical Survey of India. And of course, this Botanical Survey of India is having 5 important objectives. First objective, already I told, collection or inventorization, identification, and conservation of floristic diversity of countries. The first and prime importance or the prime responsibility of Botanical Survey of India. The second responsibility is publication of regional floras and red data books. You see scientists, they go completely survey the areas, identify the plants, conserve the plants, and they have to document the plants in the form of regional floras and red data books. And then the third responsibility is setting up of regional herbaria, botanic gardens, and museums. And the fourth one is to conserve and multiply rare and endangered plants. And the fifth one is document traditional, tribal, ethnobotanical knowledge or indigenous knowledge. So these are the 5 important objectives upon which the work is going on in all the regional centers of Botanical Survey of India. And the details will be released from the Director's office at Calcutta, and it will be disseminated throughout the country for the betterment of the scientists, whoever are working, or whoever the teachers who want to refer the details with regard to this floristic diversity of country. Here some of the photographs I have shown. This is Amerssia nobilis, the 10 most beautiful trees of the world. And here is Nepenthes khasiana, a native of Khasi Hills and Giant Hills insectivorous plant. This is the cross section of this Nepenthes picture and showing the insects trapped. And this one Venezuelan rose, and this is one of the very, very beautiful trees which are present in the UGC-HRDC Indian Botanic Garden, and very, very important plants which has been introduced by Britishers in this UGC. So I will be showing those plants, how they have been conserved in UGC-HRDC Indian Botanic Garden in my preceding slides. I told the second observation, the second objective of Botanical Survey of India is to setting up of herbarias and botanic gardens. And herbaria, Botanical Survey of India is having a network of herbarias. These are the nearly 13 herbarias which are present all over India, which are associated with regional centers as well as the headquarter. And the mother of all herbariums is again Central National Herbarium. It is called CAL, acronymed as CAL, or even sometimes it is called CNH, Central National Herbarium Howrah, which is having 2.5 million herbarium accessions, and 15,000 type specimens are present in this UGC-HRDC, which is situated inside this UGC-HRDC Indian Botanic Garden. Central National Herbarium situated inside, don't get confused. Central National Herbarium, I have already told 4 important divisions are present inside the UGC-HRDC Indian Botanic Garden. One is the UGC-HRDC Indian Botanic Garden Office. The second one is Central National Herbarium Office. The third one is Central Botanical Laboratory. Of course, the fourth one is outside the Howrah, and that is Indian Museum present in the Park Street of Calcutta. So Central National Herbarium is present inside the UGC-HRDC Indian Botanic Garden, and it is the mother of all, again, herbarias of our country, and it is having 2.5 million accessions of the plants. And now for your information, Digitization of this herbarium is completely, just half of the digitization of this herbarium accessions is completed. And last year, Bhupendra Yadavji, our Honorable Minister of Environment and Forest, he has inaugurated the virtual herbarium, and more than 1.5 lakh herbarium accessions has been uploaded in website of digital library of this Botanical of India. And anybody who want to refer any plant, he can really have the access. And like this, other regional centers, they are having their own herbarium accessions. Of course, Southern Regional Center Coimbatore also is also very famous in peninsular India by known as Madras Herbarium, and having 2.75 to 3 lakh herbarium accessions, and 2,750 type specimens are present in Southern Regional Center Coimbatore. I told Botanical of India the responsibility is to setting up of herbarias and botanic gardens. Of course, BSA is having a network of botanical gardens also spread all over the country. And again, the mother of all botanical gardens is AJC Bose Indian Botanic Garden, which is present in Howrah, directly under control of Director of Botanical of India. Age-old botanic garden started in the year 1787 by the Britishers and spreading to an area of 273 acres, present on the west bank of River Hooghly at Howrah. And apart from that, every regional center is having their own botanic garden. Of course, with regard to Southern Regional Center, which this garden is coming under my control, since I am heading this BSc SRC at Coimbatore. It is situated at Air Card, 35 kilometers away from Salem. It is present in Sannyasi Mala Hills, and nearly 40 acres of the area is there, and conserving many of the RET plants, and with special emphasis on orchids of peninsular India. That's why known as National Orchidarium and Experimental Garden. This is the office of National Orchidarium and Experimental Garden. Of course, after this, every regional center is having their own botanical garden, and then I had told the mother of all botanical gardens, AJC Bose Indian Botanic Garden. AJC Bose Indian Botanic Garden in 1929. Earlier it was known as Company Bagan, it was known as Indian Royal Botanic Garden, and then at the end 1925 it was named as Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose Indian Botanic Garden. And now I wanted to just tell, among all these plants, the mother of all botanic gardens is AJC Bose Indian Botanic Garden. And one more important garden is Botanical Garden of India Republic, started in 21 years back. It was started in Noida, 13th sector of Noida. A very big botanic garden has been established by the Government of India, Ministry of Environment and Forest, and that is called Botanic Garden of India Republic. And government is concentrating very much on this garden, and many of the world-class conservatories are under construction, and they wanted to make it a very important hub for ex situ conservation. And whoever the foreign delegates who are visiting, they are being taken to this botanic garden BJR for exhibiting the flourishing wealth of our country, and all the RET plants, all very, very important curious plants, all has been completely conserved in this Botanic Garden of India Republic. And much of the budget is being spent by the Ministry of Environment and Forest for bringing out this Botanic Garden of India Republic. Of course, I told people, the scientists, they go to the forest of all over our country, and many of the regional floras are being produced, and many of the research papers are being produced. And flora, some of the floras I have just shown here, flora of Andaman Nicobar Islands, flora of whatnot, so many floras every year. Now Government of India is committed for releasing 35 volumes of Flora of India. By 2025, Director of Botanical of India has committed to Ministry that we will be releasing all the 35, nearly by so far some nearly 15 volumes already released, and by 2025 remaining total 35 volumes will be completed, like that has committed. So much of floras are being completely produced by Botanical of India, very authentic record for the floristic elements of our country. And some other plants, I told, even red data books, every year red data books are also prepared. Many of the RET plants which are completely documented, they'll be included. And then endemic vascular plants, recently 2 years back it has been released, endemic vascular plants by BSI. And I wanted to tell, every year BSI releases plant discoveries on World Environment Day. The Ministry of Environment and Forest releases plant discoveries for the benefit of the scientific fraternity. Whatever the plants newly reported, even by the scientists of Botanical of India or any other departments or any university people, if they are corresponding to Director BSA, all these are incorporated in plant discoveries. And this document is released every year in New Delhi by the Minister of Environment and Forest. and it will be released for the benefit of the scientific people who are carrying out work on these plastic elements. And beside that, BSI is having a scientific journal Nilambo, in which all the research articles are present, are completely published. And now here I have just shown a proceedings, a copy of the proceedings of the Principal Chief Conservator of Forest released by Tamil Nadu, just to know that how we get the permission from these forest departments, higher up in the forest department, to survey the plant areas. Otherwise, some of the protected areas, tiger reserves, and some of the bioreserve entry itself is banned. But since we carried out the permission from the ministry level, we get the permission like this. Every year or 2 years, the permission will be granted to the team of the scientists to enter the protected areas and all the inaccessible forest areas to survey the forest elements. Otherwise, entry itself is banned, and forest departments will be very strict, and nobody will be even allowed to enter some of these protected areas. Of course, now already I have just talked about this biodiversity. Biodiversity, I have told, it is an umbrella term, and it is a very important component of this Mother Earth, and it is a sovereign property of any nation under constitution. I already told. It encompasses all the living entities which are categorized by themselves. And since this biodiversity is having that much importance, even it is having 3 threats also or more. Both anthropogenic threats as well as natural calamities are affecting in eroding this biodiversity. That's why some people have told there are 3 positive mantras of biodiversity, and the 3 positive mantras are exploration, documentation, and conservation. And in the contrary, 3 negative mantras are also working on eroding this biodiversity, and these 3 negative mantras are urbanization, deforestation, and refrigeration. How much refrigeration, how many CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons are being included to this atmosphere, and they are completely affecting this greenhouse effect they are causing, and even ozone layer depletion also is taking place and completely eroding this biodiversity. So that's why biodiversity is very important. And even though biodiversity is existing from long years on the Mother Earth, a simplest definition has been given to the biodiversity as the sum total of genes, species, and ecosystems in a given region. McManus and Norse in the year 1980, they have given this definition. They've proposed this definition. Of course, this is the definition again accepted by IUCN, an International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. Of course, 14 definitions has been given for this biodiversity. Now biodiversity is emerging like a science rather than a subject, I can say, and so much of work last 16th and 26th and 27th, I attended this consultation meeting at the Indian Institute of Forest Management, which is organized by National Biodiversity Authority. So much of discussion, so much of scientists from all departments, key departments, NBRI, ICR, CSIR, and all forest officers, PCCF level, DCF, all are completely engaged in completely bringing out National Biodiversity Action Plan. And this work is being carried out by three important tiers: one by National Biodiversity Authority, the second one by setting up of state biodiversity boards, and then biodiversity management committees, BMCs. Additional Secretary Dr. Tanmay Kumar was the chief guest for this conference, and he was just for this 2 days meet, and he was telling BMCs, biodiversity management committees, are the local heroes who are carrying out on conservation of this biodiversity, like that he was expressing, and he congratulated many of the BMCs. When more than 500 to 600 BMCs is formed all over India for conserving this biodiversity in different areas. So biodiversity is very important, and much of the fund also Government of India is releasing for conservation of biodiversity through this department, National Biodiversity Authority, which is having its headquarters at Chennai, and conducting this meeting all over India. Earlier also nearly 8 to 10 meetings of National Biodiversity Authority I have attended, and many of the discussions are taking place, and action plan is Government of India is preparing this biodiversity action plan for this conservation of this biodiversity. So this biodiversity, I told, very vast. It encompasses all the living entities, and when we see the categorization of biodiversity, it has been categorized into 3 different forms or types. One is genetic diversity, second one is species diversity, and third one is ecosystem diversity. Genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity, some people otherwise refer as alpha diversity, beta diversity, and gamma diversity, and some people even call it as intracommunal diversity, and ecosystem diversity or landscape diversity, like that. We should not get disturbed with regard to this classification. Of course, genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity are the 3 important types of diversity existing. But recently, when they observed this biodiversity, conservation of this biodiversity or understanding this biodiversity is always associated with humankind in one way or the other. Many of the tribals are also associated, many of the villages also associated, many of the ethnic people are associated. Without the incorporation of or the without the help of this humankind or the human population, the diversity, conservation of diversity was incomplete. So that's why Haywood in the year 1997, he included one more category into these three important types, and that is referred to as cultural diversity, which stands for tribal knowledge, which stands for indigenous knowledge, and it is otherwise known as ethnobotanical knowledge. So that also you should remember categorization. Categorization is very important, friends. You see, biodiversity is so vast. Even 50,000 12 species, we are having different kinds. We are having angiosperms, we are having gymnosperms, we are having pteridophytes, bryophytes, algae, fungi. How to know this one? How to understand that one? At least to document itself, it takes much of the time. Even to complete one family, revision of one family in our country itself, one scientist will complete his service. Archaeology itself is so big, so many new additions, deletions, no new observations. So it is very vast. So that's why categorization of biodiversity is very important. And at the end, the reports will be collated, and finally the documents will be released to understand this biodiversity. And once the documents are released, then only proper strategic programs can be done to completely conserve this biodiversity. Otherwise, there is no other way at all. I'll be showing some of the slides how this diversity is conserved, and then how this ethnobotanical knowledge is completely documented, and with respect to this aboriginal types of Andaman Nicobar Islands, some of the slides I'll be showing. And I will be little first. And one very important example of this conservation of biodiversity is setting up of biodiversity park, which is a very successful program carried out by Professor C.R. Babu, the Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor of this Delhi University. In 2001, he was given an area of 100 acres near this Yamuna Express, which was a very barren and dry land. He completely changed this island and made it as a very successful biodiversity park, which acts as the lungs for this Delhi, and a successful program. And Government of India is recommending almost all the states of our country to set up biodiversity parks in their capital or in their area. And even not only, but also not only the India, the other countries like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka also, they are following this scheme of setting up biodiversity park. And many of the barren island was completely changed into a green cover, and even wild animals, Neeli Gai has completely started coming to this biodiversity park set up by this one, and even migratory birds also started coming to this biodiversity park. So this has become a very successful program of Government of India. And now coming to the conservation of the biodiversity, it is completely conserved in two important ways. One is in situ conservation, and the second one is the ex situ conservation. In situ conservation of these plants or any entity in its original habitat without disturbing it, and conserving in its original habitat is referred to as in situ conservation. And the second one is ex situ conservation, lifting the plant from its original habitat and bringing it to other place. Either it may be a garden, or it may be a laboratory, or any other place, and giving near natural condition and conserving is referred to as ex situ conservation. In situ conservation is carried out by three important methods. One is by setting up biosphere reserves. We are having 18 biospheres. Some of the biospheres you may be knowing: Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, Sundarban Biosphere Reserve, we are having Similipal Biosphere Reserve, Nokrek Biosphere Reserve, Manas Biosphere Reserve, then we are having Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve. So so many biospheres are existing in our country. 8 biospheres, full-fledged biospheres are there, and many much to come up, and they are conserving biodiversity in one way or the other. And then national parks, 103 national parks are there, and then we are having 543 sanctuaries. They are conserving this biodiversity in the form of in situ conservation. Of course, forest department are the local guardians for this carrying out this in situ conservation in our country. Now coming to ex situ conservation, again this is also having three important methods. One is by tissue culture, the second one is by botanical gardens, and third one is by gene banks. So these are the three important ex situ conservation aspects. I will not be going deep into in situ conservation. I will touch upon ex situ conservation in a brief manner, because paucity of time is also there. So really, biodiversity is a very vast topic. Even so many things are interrelated. Without understanding the intricacies of all these aspects, it is to understand the biodiversity is very difficult. So now I wanted to just briefly touch upon all these three important aspects, and at the end I will conclude. That will complete my first lecture on this conservation of biodiversity BSA perspective. By tissue culture. Tissue culture, we know, friends, we know tissue culture is nothing but maintenance and growth of important tissues in the form of embryos, cells, tissues, organs, and embryos on synthetic media under sterile conditions is tissue culture. Once, if you are coming to about this tissue culture, we should not forget a name of a great scientist. Sometimes people call him as an unlucky scientist, and that scientist is Gottlieb Heberland, who is referred to as father of tissue culture. Of course, many aspects are there with regard to this, why he is called unlucky scientist. All these things, just briefly, I'll just touch power. Because once if we are talking many things, so many things are there with regard to tissue culture. Tissue culture itself, some 1 month way, we can take some of the classes, we can work out, we can carry out the work on micropropagation, we can think of clonal propagation, we can think of secondary metabolite production, we can think of some of clonal variations, we can think of genetic we can think of genetic engineering or genetic this DNA analysis of the DNA, this one DNA incorporation, so gene bank, this one jumping genes, all these things are so many things related with this regard to this tissue culture. Of course, not let us not go briefly touch upon this tissue culture. One of our professors used to tell tissue culture is a bus which stops at 5 stations. The first station is sterilization, the second station is inoculation, the third one is incubation, the fourth thing is observation, and the fifth one is transplantation. So 5 stations, if you touch the bus of tissue culture touches, your process of tissue culture will be success, like that one of our professor used to tell. So 5 stations. The first station is sterilization, the second station is inoculation, the third one is incubation, which is done in growth chamber or the tissue culture chamber, and then the fifth one is observation, fourth one is observation, and fifth one is transplantation, which relate to transfer of this tissue culture plants to the land. So these are the 5 important this one. And I told the father of tissue culture is referred to as Gottlieb Heberland, 1902, who proposed this important technique of tissue culture to the botanical fraternity. But only one thing what I wanted to tell you is, even though he was having a vision of this tissue culture in his mind, but he did a very, very small mistake in selecting the tissues for his initial experimentation. And he selected the tissue is palisade tissue of this leaf he selected. He was having a idea that if I select this palisade tissue, because chlorophyll will be more in this palisade tissue of these leaves, so growth of the plant may be very, very fastly, it may go like that. He selected this palisade tissue. There he did the mistake. And because even though he carried out this culture of this tissue and propagation and proliferation of tissues took place, but it took little more time to come out to the complete plant, because the sophistication at that time, 1902, the lab conditions were not so well developed that the handling of this tissue at the time of subculture, when we transfer the tissue from one media to another media, it is referred to as subculture. That subculture condition, many of these tissues are disintegrating, because palisade is a loose tissue. It is not like other tissues of the plant body, stem in the or other places. There will be impacted tissues. So, but palisade was completely getting disoriented or disorganized, and so culture took little more time, and he could not prove a success. He could not show the successful full plant to the scientific fraternity. That's why his work was not accepted by the scientific fraternity. Of course, later he died, and in 1932, 3 important scientists working independently in the world, Gothard, Novikov, and White, they completely carried out tissue culture, and successful plant was produced, and tissue culture became a successful technique for propagation of these plants. And now more than 300 laboratories in our country itself are carrying out tissue culture work. Some of the important laboratories in India, Indo hybrid seed, Speak India, Harrison Malayalam, and then Mahiko Seed Company, they are carrying out this tissue culture and propagating many of the ornamental and exotic plants and getting the economy at a larger extent. So tissue culture is a successful program. In this tissue culture, especially for this propagation or conservation of biodiversity, and especially for RET plants, rare, endemic, and threatened plants, and some of the medicinal plants, tissue culture is the best tool for propagating and conserving this plant. Even this in tissue culture, we carried out tissue culture in some of the orchid species. Silogin nitida, we carried out a successful this one and program, and even we got flowering of this tissue culture plants in National Aquarium and Experimental Garden year card. And now not even this one, even we can very well go for long-term cultures and we can maintain long-term cultures of 2 to 3 years inside the lab. And whenever we want the plant independent of time and season, we can take a portion of this plant and put it in special fresh media, subculture it on the fresh media, and we can really guard the plant. So this is the way tissue culture helps in conservation of biodiversity. And beside that, I wanted to mention, even you might have heard about the synthetic seeds or artificial seeds, and they are the natural analogs of natural seeds, and that also can be prepared in tissue culture, and we can keep these seeds stored in the culture, and whenever we want the plant, we can take those seeds and plant it on fresh media, and we can propagate the plant. So these are some of the aspects which are working on, and much of the work is going on in NBPGR also in regard to this conservation of RET plants or conservation of medicinal plants with this tissue culture. And you can know even micro production of bamboos also is possible in our northern eastern regionals, in our Shillong regional center. About the bamboos also a successful program was conducted, and the tissue culture of bamboos is also a successful program. Many of the fruit crops, banana, this papaya also is a very, very successful tissue culture, and many of these Harrison Malayalam speak India, they are serving these plants to the common public. Of course, I told the first way of the first and foremost way of ex situ conservation is by tissue culture, and the second one is by botanical gardens. Is it not? So botanical gardens are very important places where effective ex situ conservation can be very well brought about. They are the living repositories of plants, and they are the plants where plants from different phytogeographical areas can be brought and conserved, and they may be raised, and successful ex situ conservation can be carried out. They are the places where we can very well carry out the experiments in comparison with some of the experimental biology and economic botany can be carried out, and much of the active data can be generated, and these are the places from where research material can be generated, propagated, and can be supplied to many of the research organizations which are carrying out work on this some of the RET plants or some of the medicinal plants. And so botanical gardens, again, they are the places where we can carry out many of the environmental related programs, and people can be sensitized with regard to the importance of the biodiversity elements or the importance of this environmental awareness programs can be carried out. And these botanical gardens, they will be having different sections in the form of arboretum, where trees are conserved, in the form of fernery, where ferns are conserved, where they will be having bamboo-situms, where bamboos will be conserved, and many of the conservatories will be there, where the temperature and all the conditions are regulated, and plants are completely propagated and conserved for a longer duration. And then I told botanical gardens, among all the botanical gardens, the mother of all botanical gardens of country is AJC Bose Indian Botanical Garden, or AJC Bose Indian Botanical Garden, which is situated at Acharya Jagdishan Bose, which is situated at Howrah. And in 2009, this garden was renamed as Acharya. Earlier, when this garden was started, it was known as Company Bagan. Then it became Royal Botanical Garden. Once the royal family of this England took charge of this botanical garden, it was referred to as Royal Botanic Garden. Then once the independent was got, it became Indian Botanical Garden. And in 2009, the then Forest Minister Jairam Ramesh, he just told, why we should have only Indian Botanic Garden, let us name it as Acharya Jagdishan Bose Indian Botanic Garden, because to commemorate the achievements of Acharya Jagdishan Bose, a famous plant physiologist of West Bengal. So to commemorate his work, he just named this garden as in 2009 as AJC Bose Indian Botanic Garden. This garden was started in the year 1787 by Lieutenant Colonel Robert Kidd, and which was developed by William Roxburgh and Nathaniel Wallis to a larger extent. You see, dear friends, so many stories also here. This is the place where much of our botanical studies took place. What the botany now we are studying, these are all the works, initial works has taken place in this AJC Bose Indian Botanic Garden. And the most very much renowned person to be known for this botany is the father of Indian botany, William Roxburgh. First, the garden was started by the idea of Colonel Robert Kidd. 1787, he wrote a letter to East India Company, why we should not raise one botanical garden here like that. When he wrote the letter to East India Company, the people, the superintendent of this East India Company, he marked at this Robert Kidd. What is this Robert Kidd you are telling? Here we have come to take away all the resources which are present in Indian country, and you are now want to settle over here. Days are not far that Indian people will make us to run away. They'll kick out us from this country like that. He just wrote to Colonel Robert Kidd. But Colonel Robert Kidd, in next letter, he wrote to this East India Company, no. You see, we have no doubt we have come to take away the resources. In place of taking one bag of the resource, if we take 10 bags of the resource, is it not advantageous? If you have got one garden, we can very well grow many of these important crops here, and in one bag we can take 10 bags. And another important thing what he mentioned in his letter is, you see, the only access to Indian country from England to come is through this Bay of Bengal and through ship only, and nearly 30 to 40 days the ship will be there in the sea, and much of the wood will be deteriorated. If you will have one garden, we can very well raise some of these timber yielding plants. And at that time, the most very important timber for this country was this for this shipbuilding was this mahogany wood. Sardinia mahogany. Still at that time in 1787, the mahogany avenue which was raised by the Colonel Robert Kidd, still it is existing in this HDC Indian Botanical Garden. So once he wrote this one, East India Company completely give the permission for this Colonel Robert Kidd to start this HDC Indian Botanical Garden. He served this botanical garden as honorary superintendent for nearly 6 years, 87 to 93. He was not given the salary because he was getting the salary from Fort William as the colonel of this military board of Fort Williams at Calcutta. Since he was getting salary, East India Company didn't give the salary. 2 salaries never be given, and he served as honorary superintendent for 6 years and established this botanic garden at the in 273 acres. Of course, it was more than 310 acres. 40 acres of land was given to Bengal Engineering College, and now 273 acres of the land only is present in. I will be showing the map, and you will look. After Colonel Robert Kidd for 6 years, then the next person who took charge is William Roxburgh. William Roxburgh was a surgeon in East India Company. As soon as he is the William Roxburgh, he became the superintendent of this HDC Indian Botanical Garden, and out of interest, he became a very famous taxonomist, and so many plants. He released the 3 volumes of Flora of India before the Flora of British India by our J.D. Hooker. The only plant book which can be referable for these floristic elements of India was this Flora India, released by William Roxburgh. He even raised Flora of Coromandel Coast, and then he also Hortus Malabaricus, also some flora of West Bengal also he released, and so many orchids also. He just while talking about the orchids, I'll be showing how many orchids he has described. Our William Roxburgh, a very active scientist of British East India Company. And these are the people who have taken charge of HDC Indian Botanical Garden. Up to 1937, all the Britishers were ruling this HDC Indian Botanical Garden. 1937, C.C. Calder was the last British officer. Then after that, K.P. Biswas, D. Chatterjee, and J. Sen, S.N. Mitra, R.K. Chakravarti, U.C. Bhattacharjee. I also had the privilege of heading this botanical garden. 5 years I was a curator of this botanical garden, and 2 years I became the head of this HDC botanical garden before moving to Southern Research Center of Coimbatore as head. And this is that map of this HDC Indian Botanical, which is an active center for ex-situ conservation. Many of the rare elements has been conserved, many of the rare plants has been conserved. Some of the slides I'll be showing, and before going to ethnobotanical aspects. Now this is the botanical garden, the map of HDC Indian Botanical Garden. Here, this side, 40 acres of land was given to Bengal Engineering College. Now IIT West Bengal is just situated in this area, and then totally 273 acres of the area is there. And very important areas, number 15 is, you see, large palm house is there, and 9 is Kidd Monument. In commemoration with Kidd, Robert Kidd, who is the founder of this for this botanic garden, they made a monument here. Of course, he was interested that his body should be buried here, but East India Company didn't give the nod for that one burial because other superintendent families also will demand, and it become a symmetry like that. So they didn't give the nod, at least to commemorate his contributions. A very important area has been made, and that is called Kidd Monument. And from this river Hooghly, from all those days, many of these Britishers, officers, they were coming, and they were just getting alighting over here in this area and coming through this Royal Palm Avenue, giving respect to Kidd, and then moving all over the garden and again going out. That was the vicinity. So here is one gate is there, and this side also is one gate is there. 2 gates are there for each. The garden is completely divided into 25 divisions, and 24 artificial lakes are there. You can see here the lakes. Can you make the lakes? And these lakes are interconnected through internal pipeline. You can really see the connection. And finally, they are all connected to a canal which is running in the periphery of this whole botanic garden, and finally connected to this river Hooghly. When high tide comes in the river Hooghly, water enters and feeds all the lakes, and then when low tide comes, it goes out. So movement of water will be there, and that's why the moisture content will be very high, and conservation of plants will be very, very high like that, and very, very fine like that. And this type of landscape was done by none other than George King, and the work was appreciated by company India, East India Company, and he was given knighthood as Sir George King. George King is known as Sir George King. And another very important inclusion here in this button gun is 19 at the 19 number, Great Banyan Tree. I'll be showing the photographs of Great Banyan Tree. It is again one more record of this Botanical Survey of India maintaining from 260 years this Great Banyan Tree. And these are the some of the other large farmhouse also is there. I'll be showing some of the photographs, and this is the complete map of UGC Bosinian Botanical Garden. And he is this George King. I have told he is the founder of Botanical Survey of India. 1871 to 1897, he was the superintendent of this botanical garden, and in 1890, when he was superintending this UGC Indian Botanical Garden, he suggested to raise this Botanical Survey of India, the department, to document the floristic elements of our country. And he has carried out work on this, bringing 24 artificial lakes inside the botanical garden, and these lakes are interconnected through internal pipeline, and the work was appreciated. He was known as Sir George King. And of course, boating also is there in this lakes, and earning so much of revenue to the Botanical Survey of India. And very important attraction of this Botanical Survey of India is presence of Great Banyan Tree. Only one tree completely covering 5.5 acres of the area, nearly circumference of 500 meters. The complete total circumference of this Great Banyan Tree is 500 meters. And I have got the privilege of serving this Great Banyan Tree 5 years as curator of this botanical garden and 2 years as the head of the botanical garden. So this is a very, very important entity of this UGC Indian Botanical Garden, and it is a crowd puller. At the time of New Year Day and even at the Christmas time, more than 40 to 50,000 people, they come to this botanical garden to have a look of this Great Banyan Tree present in this UGC Indian Botanical Garden. And logo of Botanical Survey of India is also the Great Banyan Tree. It is a very important attraction for many of the foreign delegates like Chinese, Thailand, and Indonesian. Every year, the delegates, they come to this UGC Botanical Garden to have a look of this Great Banyan Tree. Of course, the Buddhism people who follows Buddhism, they are very much respectable. They feel Great Banyan Tree has to be a very respectable entity, and they every year visit this and completely take charge of have a look of this. And the central stem has been removed in 1902. The central stem was removed because 1927 the central stem was removed, and because the infection used to go pass on to other areas, so that's why the central stem only monument is existing in this center of the Great Banyan Tree. And now this is completely propagating through these prop roots, and it is referred to as walking tree. And so many other areas are so many sections in this botanical garden. We are having Charak Udyan, where more than 500 medicinal plants has been conserved. We are having large farmhouse, and in which 110 species of nearly all over the garden, we are having 110 species of palms. But here 30 to 35 species of palm saplings has been conserved in a large farmhouse. And then we are having arboretum and pinetums also. Many of the pines are also in the form of this Podocarpus. We are having pinus, and then other type of gymnosperms are present in this pinetum. Then arboretum, 14,000 trees are present all over the garden, belonging to 1,200 species. And we are having glass house or cactus house or succulent section. More than 100 species of succulents has been present, and bambusetum also nearly 32 species of bamboos are present. The earlier director, Dr. Paramjit Singh, present director of BSI is A.A. Mao. Before him, the Dr. Paramjit Singh was a bamboo specialist. Our India has collected many bamboos, and nearly 32 species of bamboos are there. 140 cultivars of bougainvilleas are there, and many of the hibiscus are there. Aromatic plants, medicinal plants, creepers, gymnosperms are conserved. Some of the conservatives I just shown over here. Just I will be a little fast because time is also very less. And these are some of the heritage buildings and monuments. I told Kidd Monument. It is in the center of this botanical garden, and in commemoration of this contribution of Robert Kidd, Colonel Robert Kidd, this Kidd Monument is made. And through Royal Palm Avenue, the people, they come and they have a look and go all over the garden, and they just go out of the garden. And this is William Roxburgh's building, still present, where William Roxburgh carried out much of the botanical work. And opposite to this, there is one library here where he was carrying out reference of this many of the plants, and some herbarium also he raised. It is William Roxburgh only who suggested to raise this herbarium, Central National Herbarium building, which is having 2.5 million accessions of these plants inside this HSC Post Indian Botanical Garden, and some other areas, curator office, where much of the programs in the form of Vanmotsava, in the form of World Environment Day, Biodiversity Day, we carried out much of the programs, and children were invited and sit and talk competitions. I'll be showing some of the photographs. This is William Roxburgh's monument. This is Griffith Monument, and of course the C.K. Mishra, our Secretary of MOEF and CC, IAS Mishra, and Joint Secretary Manju Pandey, they are visiting this great banyan tree. He is Kailash Chandra, the then Director of Zoological Survey of India, and the present Director of BSI, Dr. A. Mao, is also present here. And so these are some of the very important heritage sites. I am just for out of interest, I am just showing. C.K. Mishra has visited, is sitting in this curator office, and now some refreshment is being given for C.K. Mishra, our at that time the Secretary of MOEF and CC. And one more attraction is Botanical Garden is presence of giant water lily known as Victoria amazonica and Victoria cruziana. Two species are present in the HSC Post Indian Botanical Garden. And again in 1884, Botanical Survey, BSI, East India Company has introduced this very, very important attractive plant of South America, native of South America, introduced collected from Brazil and introduced in the HSC Post Indian Botanical Garden in the year 1984. In 1884, sorry, not 1884, it has been introduced in the HSC Post Indian Botanical Garden by East India Company. Very important attraction. And again, since this plant is native of South America, here in HSC Post Indian Botanical, 6 lakes of HSC Post Indian Botanical Garden, this plant is growing, and 6 months it will be out of the water, and 6 months it will be down inside the water, because a new place here, and adaptation is like this. Whereas in South America or the Amazon area, it will be throughout the year, it will be just in bloom, and some of the flowers, nearly 20 to 25 centimeter flowers it will be just producing. And this is the one of the biggest aquatic plant of the world, and only in 3 places now in India also you can see this. One is HSC Post Indian Botanical Garden. The second one is Botanical Garden of GKVK Yelahanka, where our ex-director Dr. Sanjapa Sanjapa is just acting as emeritus scientist. Before retirement, he just established this plant in the Botanic Garden of this GKVK, Agricultural University of Bangalore, and there also it is there. And one is Bardhaman University. Recently they approached the director and our scientists, they went and established this plant in Bardhaman University. And another place is TBGRI, Kerala, where Dr. Satish Kumar, a world famous archaeologist, I'll be showing the photograph with him in next presentation, and where Dr. Satish Kumar is there, there also this plant is there. 2 species are there. One is Victoria cruziana, where the rim is little bit elongated, or the enlarged rim is there, measuring up to 12 to 15 centimeters. And another species, Victoria amazonica, where the rim is 5 to 10 centimeters height. And this, apart from that, completely both Victoria amazonica and Victoria cruziana look same. And flowers, of course, 10 to 12 centimeters flowers are produced. And when they bloom, it will be white in color in the morning, and evening they turn pink color. And this plant is the network below the network of veins is so strong that it can very well have a weight of 5 to 6 years. The age child can very well happily can sit over this plant. And this is a photograph taken by me. And when he just sat, little water entered, he became a little scared. Tiwari, ek pose dena, hero ka ek pose dena, like that, he laughed and clicked the photo. So very comfortably, he's giving a smile and sitting on Victoria cruziana, the giant water lily of this HSC Post Indian Botanical Garden, native of Amazon forest. Britishers has introduced in 1884 in the HSC Post Indian Botanical Garden. Very important position. And when it blooms, many of the visitors, they come and have a look of this plant. And beside that, one more important position of Botanical Garden, and only one tree of our India, and that is called double coconut, and biggest seed in plant world. Imagine a coconut of 30 to 40 kilos. and this is the possible, and it is only one present in UGC post Indian Botanical Garden, and that is known as botanical known as Rhodesia maldavica. You can very well have an outer ring is there, and here little depression is there. Once it is the outer ring is removed, inside it will be like this, two coconuts fused together. That's why the name double coconut. So many stories also involved with this, and the time is very less, and this is referred to as the water is referred to as very sacred, and many of this is native of Seychelles Islands, and the rulers of Seychelles, they were keeping this water as the elixir of life, and some water they were using because this increases the longevity of the ruler, and he wanted to create record that I am the longest ruler of this country, like that. It is referred to as elixir of life. And some of the rishis, they use prepare commandolus break. 5 minutes, huh? After 5 minutes, we'll just break for 10 minutes. This one, of course, this topic is very, very big. I cannot even complete so far half because things are so much associated. Okay, so it is referred to as elixir of life, and then the water is completely used. This is double coconut. Only one tree of our country. Again, it is present in Indian Botanical Garden, and this tree itself, this palm itself, lives for 1,000 years. And just to identify the sex of this plant, it took 100 years for the scientists of Botanical Survey of India to get the. This was known as this came to be known as female tree, and here dioecious condition, and the male pollens were got from Nungnach Botanic Garden, Thailand, and artificial pollination was done, and fruit set was done. And then many rare trees are also present. Branch palm, usually palms never branch, but here you see branch palm is there, known as Hyphne tabaica, native of again West Indies. Britishers have introduced. Then Cauropida ghanensis of the Lacinidaceae family, and cannonball tree. Then we are having candle tree, Permetta cerifera of the family Bignoniaceae, and this is also present rare plant. And this is Americia nobilis. Of course, it is referred to as the tree of heaven, and the 10 most beautiful trees of the world. It is present in the avenue of Americia nobilis, and then we are having this Venezuelan rose also present in this botanical garden, and one more wish tree, Adansonia digitata, also is present in this botanical garden. And these people, the scientific, this is Namita Prasad, the additional secretary of MOF and CC, visiting and having a look of Adansonia digitata. Kalpataru, it is known as. The stem will be having gallons and gallons of water, which is rich in minerals. And of course, many of the visitors, visitors every year they will be visiting. And he's Harshvardhan, at that time, the Minister of Environment and Forest, visiting the Botanical Garden and seeing a look of great banyan tree. And we are presenting a moment of this great banyan tree to Harshvardhan. C.K. Mishra, of course, the IAS. And here is the this one, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Delhi, Madan Lakur, he visited the Botanical Garden, and the local administration is giving the honor in the gate of UGC post Indian Botanical to Madan Lakur. And here is Seychelles Island, this one ambassador visiting and signing a MOU with DBSI, Dr. Paramjit Singh. At that time, the Paramjit Singh was the director, and now the present director is here, A.M. Mao, who is now 3 years back, he has taken charge. So at that time, Dr. A. Mao is signing MOU with Seychelles Islands to have some male plants saplings from Seychelles Islands. And now, of course, we attend many of the programs. Yesterday, I told I am a core member for National Biodiversity Authority, and in 2023 August, I am attending one meeting of a group working group meeting. He is the present director, present chairman of UGC, Ashlendra Reddy, and he is the secretary B. Balaji. And so people, officers from different scientific organizations, forest officers, they are all attending this meeting. Even last 3 days back also, we have attended at Indian Institute of Forest Management. Like this program will be done. He is Ashlendra Reddy, and this one Balaji. Ashlendra Reddy and Balaji is here. You can this is Dr. Subramania, head of Zoological Survey and IFGT director and ICR scientist. And so many programs we conducted. IFS officers also visit Botanic Garden. This one rangers also attend. I am chairing a session of co-chairing the session of 14th National Meet of State Biodiversity Authority at NBA. And then here is then director of ZSI Kailash Chandra and myself, and he is the director. He is the State Biodiversity chairman of Tamil Nadu, and he is PCCF of Chhattisgarh here is there. And we conduct many of the environment related Ozone Day, World Environment Day, and planting programs are being conducted. And now in 2 minutes I'll just conclude for tea break. And we conduct many of the programs in Botanic Garden, World Environment Day, then flower show we conduct, Independence Day, Republic Day, Ozone Day, Swachh Bharat, so many programs. Here is the inauguration of flowered show done by the governor of West Bengal, Dr. K. Narayanan. garden, and so many plants and so many delegates they have attend, and so many programs with regard to biodiversity. We conduct rallies, we conduct many of the competitions, and we give the gifts to the children, and we encourage, and like these competitions will be conducted, rallies are conducted, and different this one World Environment Day is conducted, and commissioners of HoO Municipal Corporation is the chief guest, and he is at that time in charge director Dr. E.K. Pathak, and some of the scientists, additional directors and students attending these drawing competitions. And of course, so many threats are also there. People, they come and encourage this botanical garden. They conduct so many rallies, and they conduct some of the strikes inside this one union, Morning Walkers Union, Botanic Garden Daily Workers Association. They kind of demand so many things, and even they bad use the many of the RET plants. They sit somersaulting. They sit and chart Brownia coccinea. That Venezuelan rose, they are sitting and completely charting, and she's very nicely carrying out this somersaulting, and he's applying his energy to a very important tree. And sometimes when rain comes, it will be tilted and it will fall away. And so like this, these are the different activities to thread the biodiversity. Of course, some of the field photographs I have just shown here, how we conduct a field, and these are some of the collections in Itanagar. Yes, now these are some of the collections. Now, okay, we'll just stop for 10 minutes break. Thank you very much for the kind patience. Okay, we'll just continue for 10 minutes, and then I'll come to next lecture. Okay, you can stop, madam. You stop. Then we can continue.
Okay, sir.